right, keep right. Now, floor it. There it is, the end of it. I knew the end was near.
Oh, there it is.
Far she blows. The white whale. Welcome back, HAXManiacs. You know, I had the craziest thing happen to me today. Yeah, I bought this. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I've been talking about getting a truck forever. And I have put it off forever, even to go so far as to try to turn our SUV into kind of the adventure wagon. And we're still gonna do that. But I just got to the point where I kind of needed basically a bug out truck. Now, people throw out the term bug out vehicle, bug out bag a lot, and honestly the chances of ever bugging out are slim to none. You're gonna bug in your house because that's where you want to be, unless you're like me and you live in a hurricane prone area, which I do. We have to evacuate sometimes. And you know, I've been using my dad's truck for years. I have not had a truck in many years, and I just kind of broke down and finally found this truck online. If I can zoom out. Okay, so this is a Ford F-250. It's a 2022 model, but it's actually used. It's almost impossible to find a new one on the lot right now. If you do, the only way that you can get one generally is if somebody custom ordered it and, you know, 6 or 8 months ago, and then they changed their mind in the meantime before the truck got there. Those are about the only ways you can find one out, at least in my area and from whatever I've found from calling tons of places. Main thing is about this one, this is the trimmer model, which is what I really wanted really badly, because what I wanted was capability. Let me show you what, well, let me show you this real quick first. So if you're not familiar, I'm not gonna go over all the aspects of this truck because bottom line, who cares? What I liked about the trimmer model was it's got a 2-inch lift from the factory. Comes with 18-inch wheels, 35-inch Goodyear tires. I'll probably get rid of those and put some proper BFGs on there eventually. Maybe even go with 37s. With a 2-inch leveling kit, you can put 37s on here. So this has the 7.3 liter Godzilla engine in it. It's a gas engine. Kim and I were at a nursery, a plant nursery, and she was looking for some fruit trees. And the place we went to was just, it was crowded. And I told Kim, I said, this is getting on my nerves. I gotta go sit out in the truck because we were driving my dad's truck. While I was sitting out there, I thought, well, I'll just look online and see real quick what's available. And this truck was on there, but somebody was purchasing it, and it said, you can notify me if the deal falls through or whatever. So I clicked on there and I thought, well, whatever. And about 30 minutes later, I was driving and it popped up and it said the vehicle is available. And I was like, oh, I told Kim, I said, you gotta drive. So I'm trying to get this thing real quick because they give you a time limit. So in the middle of purchasing it, I had to call the bank, and the guy says, thank you for calling today. Congratulations on your choice. And I said, oh, well, thank you very much. I said, hey, listen, man, I said, I've only got like 8 minutes before I lose this vehicle. No worries, sir. This will take no more than 5 minutes. It was like out of a movie. But anyway, I did end up going past the time, but I was so far along that I was able to complete it. That was over a week ago that I actually bought it online. And then they called me an hour before delivery yesterday to say that they couldn't deliver it because it was too big to fit on their delivery truck. So I said, all right, they were gonna have 2 people deliver it the next day. And then they called me this morning and said, we don't have another driver. So I ended up having to drive an hour and a half to pick it up, which is annoying, but whatever, I'm glad to have it. With gas prices at record highs, probably not the best time to buy a giant V8 in a big truck. This thing gets, it told me around 15 miles per gallon driving it home, which is better than my old heavy duty that I had, which was a gas truck, which is a Chevy 2500. That was a 2007 model. And I sold that to my brother-in-law several years back. And it got 10 miles to the gallon, so it's a 50% improvement. How smart this is gonna be, I don't know. I may be about to offend a few of you. Okay, let me just say this. I hate white trucks, okay? Trucks should only be made in one color, and that is red, all right? But white, that's all I could find. Like I said, this thing was to find what I wanted and to find a 22 model, it's nearly impossible. I don't know if Ford had more of an issue with the chips. There's all the Rams, all the Chevys and GMCs you could want on the lot. I'll get into why I specifically wanted the Ford, but it's white. It just begs to put your roofing contractor signage on the side right there. That's what a white truck tells me. I just can't stand it, but I'll have to get over it. I may have to wrap this thing. I mean, I'm not paying somebody to wrap it. I may have to wrap it myself. I have all the green wrap for our SUV, but Kim says I still have to wrap the SUV. So that matte military green is probably still gonna go on that. And I may just kind of stormtrooper this thing up and kind of play off the black and white. It's contractor white, you know. I mean, like I say, the shocking thing to me is that from what I could tell on the window sticker, this was, like I said, a custom ordered truck. And best I can figure is that in the meantime, between when the guy ordered it and when it was delivered, it dawned on him that he ordered it in white. And he was like, oh, why'd I do that? I don't want that truck. So then he let it go. So now I've got some dude's white truck why? So one other thing that I've also managed to do with this truck is disappoint generations of my family. Because if there's one thing you don't do in this family, that's buy a Ford. Especially a Ford truck. You just don't do it. Even whenever I was a teenager and I saved up to buy my first car, all my friends had 5.0 Mustangs. So of course, what did I want? I wanted a 5.0 Mustang. And I was shamed by my family. It was, Adam, no, why? No, you get a Camaro. No, not a Mustang. So I ended up buying a used Camaro with a 350 in it, which I put a 400 crank in, which turned it into a 383 stroker, which it should have been called a smoker because that's what it did. It smoked Mustangs. So the main reason actually that I went with a Ford over Chevy and Ram is this right here. No, actually not exactly this, because this truck came with a console, but you can get the Super Duties with the flip up center jump seat. And on the Fords, it has a shoulder belt. On the GM products and on the Ram trucks, you can get the center seat. So you basically have a bench seat. I wanted to be able to seat 6 people in here. And you can with those, but there's only a lap belt. So, you know, you have to choose who's gonna slam their forehead into the dash in an accident. So I wanted the shoulder belt, and you can only do that with the Ford. So basically, it was Ford or nothing for me. The problem is, almost nobody orders them that way. You can get the XL and the XLTs like that sometimes, but if you go with, like, this is a Lariat trim, which is kind of a mid to low mid trim package, they almost always have the console in them. But the good news is, after doing some research on none other than YouTube, I have found that you can in fact swap out the center console for the jump seat. One cool thing about this console is it has this safe to keep your valuables in. What the? This one also has a like a wireless phone charger right there. I'm gonna try to figure out if there's some way I can keep that as well as the USB and USB-C port. The other thing I want to try to figure out is if I can keep these air conditioning vents back here as well as these power outlets. And then this happens to have heated seats back here. So I got to figure out if there's some way I can kind of, I don't know if I'm gonna have to cut this or just use these panel pieces right here actually, because once I take the console out, there's gonna be no place for this stuff. It's just a seat, but I'm gonna see if I can fabricate something so that I can keep this back here. One thing that was a must for me, and part of the trimmer package obviously, is I needed 4-wheel drive, and this has the rear locking differential, which is super important for going off-road. Lots of useful storage. Oop. It's kind of funny, as I get older, things that I used to make fun of other people for having, and you know, I find like super useful now. And one of those things is this. I used to make fun of guys for getting this on their trucks because I was like, what? I mean, if you can't get up in the bed of your truck, that's kind of pathetic. But that was when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I'm like, that's awesome. It's got the step to get up into the bed easier. So a combination of things why I went with the trimmer and why I went with a heavy duty is I want towing capacity and I want payload capacity. Most people get, you know, half-ton trucks, 1500, you know, 150s, and they don't realize like it doesn't take much. I mean, 4 adult men in the bed of your truck is you've hit your max payload. This truck, I think, has 2,800 pound payload capacity. The trimmers, it doesn't matter if you get the F250 or the F350. If you go with the 7.3 liter gas engine, the F250 and the F350 are the exact same truck, which is, I think, 15,000 pound towing capacity, conventional towing. And if you do a gooseneck, it's 21,000 pounds, I think. And the reason I want that is because our cargo camper conversion that I did, it's really a little bit too small, and especially with the animals that we have, the chickens and the rabbits and obviously our dogs and stuff, it's just a little too much to fit in there. So what I'm thinking about doing is buying a heavy duty trailer and kind of building it from scratch, as far as maybe the front of it being a living quarters, and then there being a section for storage and maybe a section for the outdoor animals, the chickens and everything, and whatever else we end up getting, just because of the hurricane factor. Because it doesn't matter how much that we stock up here at the house for emergencies. You can stock up on food, supplies, everything. If a hurricane comes through and we have to evacuate and we don't take that stuff with us, we could lose everything. I mean, you could lose years of preparation in a case like that. So I want to make sure that I can take everything with me. One of the first modifications that I want to make on here is getting some type of bed cap, and I've been looking at a bunch of different types. Kind of what I'm leaning towards and wanting most probably is the RSI Smart Cap, which is like this really innovative stainless steel truck cap. They're made in South Africa, just really nice looking, but they're not the traditional fiberglass painted to match caps. That's what I had on my old truck, and it was really handy. But if this one's going to get some heavier duty use, and also I want to be able to put some weight on the top of the cap, and that fiberglass could crack, so I don't want to go with fiberglass for this one. The other thing that I've thought about is having one of the pop-up caps with the pop-up sleeper in the top of it with the bed. Those are different than the slide-in campers for truck beds. They actually attach like a regular cap, and they have the section that goes over the cab, but then that top pops up. Those are super cool. There's a lot of really cool companies that make those, but again, they are way back ordered, and those things are like crazy expensive. So plan B may be that I build one of those myself. Is that something that you guys would be interested in seeing? Maybe some type of aluminum frame and aluminum sheeting and everything on the side of it and everything, and do the pop-up with the bed. You know what, guys, I gotta be honest with you. I have not been honest with you. You wanna know the truth? You wanna know the real reason why I bought this truck? Come with me. Just listen to it. Would you just listen to it? Oh, gives me the chill bumps, I'll tell you what.